Welcome to Get to the Hook. I am your co-host, Charles Latibaudier.
And I'm your co-host, Eric Colley.
And we have multi-layers to this week's hook. In some ways, we're talking about the fact of not having hooks, or we're talking about hooks being overly prevalent. And we're also going to talk about a little bit about Coachella.
Okay, yeah.
And we're going to talk about the top of the charts right now. And then we're also going to take you deep within the bowels of our own office, so to speak.
Bowels being kind of the operative word.
Perhaps. Don't make assumptions. But yes, what we are talking about this week are intros to hit songs.
There's some classic intros to some songs.
Really classic intros, and it's in some ways feels like it's a lost art. And maybe not lost, it's just because lost makes it sound like people just forgot how to do it. They know how to do it. There's a reason why they don't do it now. We're talking okay, all right. Is this a safe space?
You were dancing around why we got into this topic.
Is this a safe space?
Why did intros come up? What song did you hear, and where did you hear it that made you think about this?
I want to say shout out to our music team here at TMZ. Tony and Sarah have they program the music. They make the playlists that are played in our restrooms.
I contribute some songs to that.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Oh, I didn't know that you
jumped in there. It's a collaborative thing, yeah.
Okay.
Sarah's in charge of it. The TMZ bathroom playlist, yeah.
It used to be that our music was just like one of the digital radio programs. I don't remember which one, but you would get their music, and it got a little stale, and so our music department decided they would take it over. I'm glad they did. So, yes, the reason we are doing this show is I was in the restroom.
Charles had to go.
And I was fortunate enough to be in there when this song started, and this is why we're talking about music intros.
This is The Temptations. Papa Was a Rolling Stone.
So much going on in the intro to that song.
It's almost 2 minutes long. Before the vocals even come in, it's 2 minutes. It starts, and of all the songs we're going to play today, all of them, obviously, I'm starting at the beginning.
Right.
Except that one I had to go in a little bit because it just takes so long.
Right. You had to get some more instruments going.
Yeah, it's just the bass line.
Very slow build.
Hi-hats.
But it immediately. And yes, I did. So answer your question, because Eric wanted to know that. I was like,
how long were you in there if you heard this whole song? That song's 7 minutes long.
No, I was in there for the entire intro. I refused to leave. I was done. Just to be clear, it was number one. But I was completely done, hands washed, and I was standing there. And it got very awkward because people started walking in and walking out, and I'm just standing by the door.
Hanging out in the bathroom?
Just bopping my head, listening to this. I'm like, man, this is great. I refused to leave until the lyrics started because I was like, I can't. I have to listen to the entire intro. And it used to be...
It's hypnotic.
Yes, that used to be a thing that was done by design when you made a hit song.
You put a lot of thought into that intro, how you get people, and there was different ways you could do it. There's the really long, slow build. We'll talk about some of those. There was the immediate, just like a good riff, like a good guitar hook, or maybe it was an a cappella intro. And you don't really hear that on a lot of songs these days.
You don't, and in fact, it kind of stands out when you do hear it now because it is just different. It's just for all sorts of reasons, which we're going to get into. But yes, that was the impetus, the Temptations, and a bathroom break. But we started thinking about current hits, and actually I'm surprised there are more than I realized that actually are adding intros now.
I think they're making a comeback.
Yeah. I hope so.
Because I think
it makes songs just more interesting.
But I think the reason they kind of went away, like you said, it's not that people don't know how to do it or there aren't talented musicians. And of course, there are artists who still do it. But for your radio-friendly pop songs, it's the TikTok era. You need a song that just starts. And a lot of them do just start with whatever the hook of the song is, and that will just repeat for 2.5 minutes, and then the song's over. There's no bridge. There's no pre-chorus. There's just, this is the song. This is the instrumental. We're going to loop 10 seconds for 2.5 minutes. And then we're done.
Yeah, and as you said, a lot of times those songs are just slightly longer than the intro to Papa Was a Rolling Stone.
Yeah, that song's almost 2 minutes. And And it rewards you too, Papa Was a Rolling Stone. So you have this, the bass line and those hi-hats, then the horns come in, the strings start swirling, and it's building.
Guitar is just chucking the whole time.
Yeah. And then when you get to the lyrics, I mean, the first line of that song, it was the 3rd of September, a day I'll always remember. That was the day my daddy died.
And
well, that's a good way to start a song. You're like, I'm in now. I am so in.
I'm getting a story. All right.
Yeah.
Let me get cozy here. Let me listen.
But also, to be fair to newer artists, back then you couldn't just skip to the next song if you didn't like what you were hearing.
Right.
So right now, like you are so competing for people's attention, and all of our attention spans are so much shorter. You want a song that just gets right to where it's going, and just you can listen to it.
Yeah, you can't.
If you did a 2-minute build-up on a song right now, nobody would ever get to it. They'd be like, "Oh, this is boring. Skip."
It's all based on. Think about when you pick up your phone and you're scrolling through whichever app you're in, or whatever social media app you're in. You immediately decide within 2 seconds: do I want to listen to? Do I want to watch this? Or nope, scrolling on to the next, on to the next one. It's the music industry is doing the same exact thing when they make these songs. So kudos to the people who are actually doing it, because
there's some that still do it.
I think it's brave. It's like you're going, you know what? I don't care. I know you have other options, but I think this music right here is interesting enough that it's going to hold your attention.
Right.
And we've seen some current people.
And they don't have to be super long intros. Like the slow build-up can be really amazing, like Papa Was a Rolling Stone, or Money for Nothing by Dire Straits had that long build-up with Sting saying, I want my MTV. U2's Where the Streets Have No Name. I mean, how long is that intro?
God, you know what? I heard another one this weekend. Traffic. Low Spark of High-Heeled Boys.
Oh, yeah.
I know I just got way old. I just got
really
like
old.
I can feel my hair getting gray just saying that. But yes, I heard it this weekend. I was listening to some music yesterday, and it came up on a random playlist. And I remember I was like, what's going on? Why didn't it skip to the next song? It did. It's so slow to get to where you can actually hear the music.
Yeah. Well, that's actually, so when you talked about this, about intros, I was looking up, when you found this, there's a list from a website called Music Radar. It's a British site, mostly for musicians. And they just recently put out their list of their 30 greatest intros of all time. And their number one, I couldn't even pull a soundbite from it. It's Shine On You Crazy Diamond by Pink Floyd, which on the album is like a 5-part suite. It runs almost half an hour long. The intro to part 1 is 4 minutes long. And it is so slow. I was like, we can only play like 10, 15 seconds of a song. I can't pick out 10 seconds that will do any of this any justice. You could listen to like 2 current radio songs in the time the intro of the first part plays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they picked that nice slow build up. Some other songs they had on their list from all kinds of eras. Some immediate ones, like where it just comes in and hits you right away. This one changed how I think a whole generation said this artist's name. They had I Feel For You by Shaka Khan on there.
Shaka Khan.
Yeah, she's always been Shaka Khan, because Grandmaster Melly Mel was scratching that record with her name at the beginning. That's how the song starts. She's been Shaka Khan for my whole life. That's how I always think of her. They had Like a Rolling Stone by Bob Dylan, Just Can't Get Enough, Depeche Mode, Earth, Wind & Fire's Shining Star, which has that little guitar build up and then that big horn burst comes in. Wonderwall by Oasis, Cannonball by the Breeders, which is super 90s, the intro to that where she's going, ow. Remember that?
Yeah,
Michael Jackson was on there twice. Don't Stop Till You Get Enough was on there.
Yep.
Which has that little bass build up and him talking about the Force. But the thing of that intro that you're waiting for is when he does the big, ooh, and the strings come swirling in.
We're both off key.
I know.
Then Billie Jean, I would imagine.
Billie Jean was not on there. It was Jackson 5 was the other one with I Want You Back, which is just that piano roll, and then the song is going. Another one, this one is on their list. They had 2 Beatles songs. One, my favorite of their intros is Come Together.
Yes, that's a good one.
The little drum
and I know
rolls.
the other one you can get to, and I question this one. But
I see why, and I'd never really thought about this, but as soon as I saw this on the list, I knew what the intro was, and it's basically one note.
It's literally one note, but it is an exciting note.
But I wound up watching a whole 20-minute video about this one note, because I'm that big of a dork, and I like to do my research. They were like, musicians have debated for years, what chord is that's being hit at the beginning of the song? And it turns out, and this is the beginning, I think, of the Beatles really doing their studio experimentation. So it's not just, I hit a chord on a guitar or whatever. It was John Lennon doing one chord. It was George Harrison doing the same chord on a 12-string guitar with extra notes. Paul did a different chord on the bass, and then the producer, George Martin, did multiple chords on a piano at the same time. So it's all these different things that don't go together They stacked them all, and this is what it sounded like at the beginning of A Hard Day's Night.
It's been a hard day's night.
It's so simple, but a
simple. It's
lot
not
of work went
long.
into making that one thing.
It's the exact opposite of Papa Was a Rolling Stone as far as length.
It's like a second long.
But impact, it's still there. And I will say, I saw Paul McCartney a few years ago, and that was the song I wanted to hear. I was like, he's got to open with that. He didn't.
Yeah.
But I was waiting for it. It's like, it's going to come up at some point. You're just going to hear that note, and it has an impact.
What note is that?
I don't know.
And I never
you
realized.
Watch a 20-minute documentary.
I know.
Did they not figure out what note it was?
It's multiple.
Well, because
it's different
multiple.
chords. They sort of like invented a chord basically by stacking all these other things. And even when they talked about George Martin playing the piano on it, I'm like, there's no piano on that. Yes, there is. If you listen to it,
I would not have heard. I really thought it was just
on headphones
guitars.
again, and it's not so much when it first hits, but as it's kind of trailing off right before the song starts, you can hear the piano like lingering. The notes linger longer. Are we gonna play it again? Let's play it again.
Let's play it again.
It's been a hard day's night.
As it trails off, you can hear the piano sustaining longer than the guitar.
I didn't hear it, but I will listen. I'm not going to make you guys listen to it 8 times.
No.
But I will afterwards.
But it's interesting, like that much thought went into a single chord.
Yeah.
That I never would have thought that.
Well,
as a listener, you don't notice it.
It was worth it because here we are. How many years?
60 years later, talking about
it. So
I also found a list interesting from Fender Guitars, one of the most famous guitar brands in the world, manufacturers. They have a website and they had their list of the 10 greatest classic rock riff openings.
Layla.
No, Layla was not on it. Some of the songs they had on it, Deep Purple, Smoke on the Water, which everybody learns.
I'm done. How is Layla not on their list?
It wasn't.
And Clapton plays Fenders, so I don't know why.
They got some good ones on here.
Okay.
Smoke on the Water, Jimi Hendrix, Purple Haze, Black Sabbath, Iron Man, Led Zeppelin's Whole Lotta Love. Led Zeppelin has a lot of good intros.
Sure.
Cream, Sunshine of Your Love. And their number one from 1965 also, Like a Hard Day's Night. This is the Rolling Stones. I Can't Get No Satisfaction. That's a pretty iconic intro.
It is.
And
I'm a big Stones fan, you know that, but
yeah,
maybe it's just because I've just heard it too much.
You would put that at number one?
That one doesn't stand out for me anymore. Like I just heard it too much. I would.
You have to
Sunshine
appreciate
of
it
Your
in
Love.
that time because think all those other songs, Satisfaction predates those songs.
Yeah.
Even by just a year or two. And then you had the Kinks, You Really Got Me. The fun thing about Satisfaction, have you ever heard the story about how Keith Richards, and he's told this story over the years and it changes a little bit kind of every time he tells it, but basically he was asleep, woke up in the middle of the night, laid down that riff, fell back asleep, and then woke up the next morning and forgot he had done it. But he noticed the tape had run out, so he goes back and he's like, why was the tape recording? And he said it's 45 minutes of him snoring. And then 30 seconds is that riff from Satisfaction.
Right.
And he had forgotten he had done it.
Thank God for recorders.
And thank God he just woke up and was like, I better put this down.
If he didn't wake up and record it,
it could have never happened.
it might never have happened.
And that
Maybe
was
the
their
Rolling
first number one hit. That was their breakthrough.
And
There
then
might have
maybe
never
the Rolling
been no Rolling
Stones don't
Stones.
happen. Wow.
Yeah.
By the way, and I know right now if it feels like this is just all really old music, there are some new songs that are doing intros which we're going to get to.
Kinds.
Just
all right,
tease.
let's just jump to the 80s, getting a little bit, still very old, but newer than the 60s. I think this is an intro that is such a powerful intro. It overshadowed a band's entire career. Everybody knows this intro, but they don't know this band.
Everyone knows the intro. They don't know the band. And honestly, I don't even like the song.
You don't even have, that's the thing. But the band, so we're talking about the band Europe. It was a Swedish metal band in the late 80s, the hair metal era. And this wasn't even meant to be a song for them. The lead singer wrote it on a keyboard, so it's not even a guitar-driven intro.
Right.
And it was just supposed to be like a fanfare when they came on stage. And that was all it was going to be. As for our live shows, we're going to have this fanfare. But they recorded it. The producers and the label wanted it on. It became the title song, the first single from the album, the first song on it. It went to top 10. And if you don't know the band Europe or you don't know not familiar with the name, The Final Countdown, you will know it when you hear this. And
so
nobody remembers the rest of that
it's
song.
It's so simple. And by the way, the rest of the song isn't really worth
I can't even really remember the rest of the song.
I could probably pull a few lyrics out of my brain if I.
And that wasn't even their biggest hit at the time. Their power ballad,
ballad,
Carrie was a big hit. But That song's been used in commercials, movies.
It lives on in Madison Square Garden. The Knicks use it. I think they still use it as their intro.
Yeah.
When their team intros.
It's a pump up riff.
Yeah.
And I mean, it kind of sounds like the Rocky theme to me a little bit.
Yeah.
That same kind of vibe. But
that vibe.
It was just the intro to the song.
But it's made that song memorable because otherwise, without it, I don't know that we'd even be talking about Europe right now.
I'm pretty sure we would.
Unless we got to a hair metal.
We did a hair metal episode, and we didn't talk about Europe.
We didn't. Sorry, Carrie. Whoever you were.
Yeah, whoever you were. They can also, intros can be really short and memorable. There's one that's only 4 notes.
But everyone knows
for
it.
a generation, these 4 notes were shorthand for sex. This is Marvin Gaye. Let's get it on.
I've been really trying, baby.
More than any like porn music you might have heard. That's the code. That's the code for someone had sex.
I had a friend who we had a coworker that they were kind of into each other and finally went on a date. And I was asking how it was, and he said that he made dinner for her, and she came over, and they were like kind of dancing. And he said we went in for our first kiss. We just had like shuffle music playing.
Sure.
He goes, right as we were about to kiss. Wow, 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 wow.
He
goes, they both just started dying laughing. No, it killed the mood because they were like,
yeah, now you
okay,
can't. You're like,
okay.
all right.
It was like cartoonish. Like, it was too perfect.
She's like, you planned that. Don't tell me.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you can't convince a woman that would just randomly came up.
But that's what a classic intro.
Yeah.
Because the song otherwise just kind of starts. Like those 4 notes. Well, actually, on the 4th note, Marvin Gaye's into it.
Yeah.
He's been really trying to hold
Very
back
much
his
into
feelings.
it.
But
He's been really trying.
Another one that was on that music radar list. It was number 20 on their list. It is my personal favorite. And I think it is one of the most iconic intros.
It is. Yeah, it's got to be up there.
It is up there. Just
another one
the
of those
lyrics.
that like everyone knows as soon as, even before he starts, because it's a spoken intro.
Yes.
But the music alone, Prince killed it on this.
Yeah, this is Let's Go Crazy.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life.
And just that phrase, dearly beloved, we're gathered here today to get through this thing called life. It's such an iconic moment in his career, in pop culture, and that weird organ. And the funniest thing about it, you're talking about artists putting really effort into an intro specifically. The rest of the song is an up-tempo dance rock song. It has nothing to do with that intro. It's not musically the same. It's not the same notes.
Did they do that intro specifically for the did the
I don't know.
director
The
of
movie starts with
call
that.
for that they wanted something like that at the beginning of the movie? Do you know?
I don't know if they specifically said you need some sort of intro for the movie. I think Prince might have just instinctively thought, this movie is in this album are going to be so important to me. I need something to start it.
Right.
Which is then again interesting that you wouldn't just go for a big pop hook right away. He went with this weird sermon about the afterlife and
It's
the
the old
of
metaphor
living.
of you got to get him in the church. You got to get him in the church first,
True.
and then you preach to him.
And then once the guitars kick in, you're hooked.
Yeah, which is what he did. Took him to church.
He did. There's also something to be said for a good a cappella intro.
Indeed. And in fact, here's the Coachella.
We're gonna get to
hook,
Coachella.
because it was a big moment at Coachella this weekend. Benson Boone decided he was going to do his version, a cover of this classic, and even brought out
The original
member of
guitar
Queen,
player.
the guy who wrote and played the guitar on this, Brian May. Queen. I think you know what song we're talking about. You
Yeah.
probably saw
For
the
a
moment.
cappella intros, yeah.
Yes, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? Caught in a landslide, no escape from reality.
And that's all Freddie's voice.
Yeah. I know they
that's
just,
all Freddie multi-tracked.
layered it.
Yeah.
But I've read something recently about singing along to a song and what it does for you, like in your endorphins
Mhm.
that fire when you're singing along. And there's something about that song has certainly been played ad nauseum.
To death. I always
To
say
death,
it's
but
my favorite
people-
song I never want to hear again.
Right. But
I've heard it so much.
if you're in a crowd of tens of thousands of people at Coachella and suddenly that song comes on and you're probably feeling some sort of way, as it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
anyway, and now you know you're going to have this communal experience of all those people singing along, it does do something for you, which is why I'm sure Benson Boone wanted to cover it,
Yeah.
and Brian May had a big moment coming out.
Interestingly, when Queen did that song live, usually they didn't do that intro. Freddie would a lot of the times just come in at the mama
slow
part.
for a live.
Well, but it was also, how do you do it? Because it was all his voice. They could have just played the tapes, but bands didn't do that back then.
Yeah.
I mean, the rest of the band do sing on the song, but I don't think it would have sounded the same, that intro.
It would have been a different sound.
That was almost too hard.
So he would start it at Mama Just Killed a Man?
with the piano part and
Right.
then just be performing it that way. And then you get to the big guitar solo, which Brian May performed at Coachella.
Yeah.
And Benson Boone is not Freddie Mercury. Nobody is, but he can sing.
Yeah.
And, he's got the flamboyant stage persona. He loves a
Definitely got
sparkly
the
jumpsuit.
theatrical part of it, yes.
He likes some rhinestones. I like that he is a performer. He does, his front flips off the piano. He can play piano. He's an actual artist, and I appreciate that about him. And yeah, when you try and cover Queen, that's a big swing.
Yes, it's a
But
huge swing.
Not that you will ever be Freddie Mercury necessarily, but if you can do it and not embarrass yourself,
if you
you're doing all right.
If you have the crowd going along with you and you do it, then
and you can just hit
got
those
it.
notes. Yeah, good for him on
yeah,
doing that.
That was a great moment.
I was debating, and to me, when I think of a cappella intros on songs, I always think of Whitney Houston, "I Will Always Love You."
Yes.
That's pretty iconic. Our coworker Derek, co-host of the Last Days podcast, who you always make fun of his musical taste.
Oh, because it is.
You know what his favorite a cappella intro is?
When someone holds, and I know I'm going to offend someone here, but when you hold Peter Cetera up as the height of musical artistry, and it's not to say that Chicago and Peter Cetera aren't great artists, but come on, bro.
We thought when he filled in for you last time, we talked about Peter Cetera.
Of course.
His favorite a cappella intro of all time. It's only a one-word a cappella part before the music comes in, but he really loves the beginning of Smash Mouth's All-Star, the "Somebody Once Told Me."
All you need to know
Your
about,
face.
all you need to know about Derek. Like,
Yeah, you could have Freddie Mercury or Whitney Houston, or what about Smash Mouth? R.I.P. Steve Harwell.
wow. Okay. Let's move on to something actually good.
Another a cappella instrumental or intro, and this is 21st century. See, we're getting still 20-something years
look
ago,
at
but
us.
we're in this century at least. We're moving along. This was an impressive intro because where pop music was in 2001 and what music on the radio was, it was a lot of, hip hop was huge. You still had the Britney, Backstreet era pop music was on, a lot of hip hop, R&B. And this singer decided to go with an a cappella introduction and then piano on her debut single. So nobody knew who this was. And when it would come on, it would just stop you where you were.
Because it was so different.
Yeah.
And it made, to me, it made me fall in love with Alicia Keys. Right
You
off the
were
bat.
fallen in love with her?
Yes.
This is Alicia Keys, Fallen.
I keep on falling in, and I love.
And then you have that moody piano come in. It's like almost classical, got kind of a Beethoven vibe to it there. And
Great. It just,
the
whole
first time you
way
heard
that-
that song, you knew you just stopped. You're like, what is this? Who is this person?
Yeah.
Had to go buy the CD right away.
I had a very cool moment. I've never met Alicia Keys, but I met her background singers, and it was right after that song come out. It was, I want to say it was the Soul Train some Soul Train Awards.
She won a lot of awards that year.
And I had been at the award show, and then afterward, I was at this after party, and and her backup singers were there, and we were talking about that song and how it was like a religious experience at the time to hear that. Like,
Yeah.
just and for them singing, obviously Alicia does the intro, but then
Well,
they
she
come in
does-
pretty quickly.
I just saw a reel today, actually, it came up. It was Alicia Keys listening to the isolated vocal tracks. And a lot of the vocals actually are her, multi-tracked,
Yeah.
kind of a Freddie Mercury. But then there is that part when she has those background
Yeah.
singers. And you said it left an impression on them. It left an impression on her because she goes, oh, here they come. And when their voices come in, she said, like, I can remember very clearly being in the room when I heard that. Like,
Chills.
yeah, just
Had to have chills.
and that's her song.
It was so good. It was, oh my God, what a great song.
That's such a strong debut single.
Yeah.
And then to start it a cappella is a
Pretty
bold
badass.
choice.
It's
Yeah.
just a badass.
And then when you can pull it off, I mean,
yeah.
yeah. But so we were saying there are some songs currently that do have some intros. We were talking about Kendrick Lamar's Luther has a little guitar flourish, then the Luther sample, and there's a buildup before the song starts.
Yeah, definitely.
Another one,
And it seems to have worked out for.
it's worked out all right. It's been number 1 for 8 weeks now. But another song currently in the top 5. It's a little bit older, but it's taken a long time to catch on. But I was thinking about Chappell Roan's Pink Pony Club, which, if you know, when you think of that song, you probably think of the chorus, and it's like 80s electro pop and big drum
Fully,
beats and all
yes.
that. But the song starts with this like melodramatic cabaret kind of piano, and like Papa Rose Rolling Stone, she just starts with a story that you're like, well, now I want to hear more.
Right.
This is the intro of Pink Pony Club.
I know you wanted me to stay, but I can't ignore the crazy visions of me in LA.
And then you want to see where it's going to go.
Yeah.
Like you,
'Cause you actually-
wanted me to stay. Who is you? Why did you want me to
At the beginning of
stay?
that song, you think it's going to be a ballad. I mean,
Yeah.
that could be an Adele sort of torch song
Right.
that's starting there.
Then the big synth bass hits, and then the pre-chorus, and then everything comes in. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
an intro and a build. And that song's done all right. Like
Yeah.
you said, Luther's done all right. Speaking of Benson Boone again, his song Beautiful Things
Yeah.
has kind of a slow build up until that
So it
big
can be
moment
done.
when the chorus hits. Maybe people are wanting to engage with music more again.
And by the way, you just need for the social media, for the TikTok era, you just need to have that, your chorus be that, because that's what people will cut
Right.
out and they'll play on TikTok. But for the radio, give it a little breath at the top.
Even this, I mean, all these songs have been streaming hits. I think maybe people who really want to listen to music don't need to have the hook of the song start right at the beginning. And I
Yeah.
know that's funny for us to say on a show called Get to the Hook.
Right,
but-
exactly.
But sometimes you want to wait a little bit,
Yeah.
because then it hits so much harder when you've waited for it and let it build and let it become what it's going to be.
Yeah. The other thing I was just thinking about when we were talking about radio, and radio used to be a lot different. Like a lot of the older songs that we were talking about, for an FM DJ, right? There's always, actually even on AM DJs, there had to be this long lead in, and they had a bunch of stuff they wanted to tell you. Well, it's 6:45 in the AM,
Yeah.
and you are now listening to, probably on your way in your commute, you're listening to the Morning Zoo, whatever.
Oh, I was
And the
a
music's-
country radio DJ for
Right.
3 years, and
And you
I
have
remember
the bed going.
it would be on. Even once we went automated, it always has how long the intro is. It's like, okay, you have 12 seconds, you have 14 seconds, you have however much time to say what you're going to say, and then you got to hit the post and let the lyrics start. And
Yeah, and so
you would know.
that was a thing for DJs they would use the intros of songs for that, except in the case of Pop Was a Rolling Stone. That one you had to shut
Well, they
up.
could read War and Peace to you before
Right.
that one started. I mean, you got a long way to go on that intro. But
It's a different era, but
maybe it's coming back.
Exactly. It would be nice if it did. It doesn't have to be 2 minutes long like the Temptations did it, but
that's a commitment.
yeah, but a minute. I think we should all be
30
willing to
seconds
commit.
even.
If you can't commit a minute to really good music, what's your life all about?
Yeah.
You really got to think about what you're doing with your life.
There you go. Reach it.
Enjoy the music, and we will see you next time on Get to the Hook.